recording, so I'm gonna start off in 3, 2. What's up, Tricology family? Welcome back to another episode of the Tricology News Talk. We have another table discussion episode for you guys today. But before we get into that, let me introduce our returning guest on the show today. You already know him. He needs no further introduction. So everyone, please welcome back Donaze Keys. Welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
Man, a little exhausted. I'll say that much. Takeover was crazy.
Oh, yeah, and we're going to definitely get into that. But before we get into that, let's just announce to everyone that this is a 1-year anniversary for AEW. In case you guys don't know what AEW is, it stands for All Elite Wrestling. It's a wrestling company. So All Elite Wrestling is a wrestling company that was founded on January 1st of 2019 by Cody Rhodes, which his real name is Cody Reynolds, Nicholas and Matthew Minis.
Nick and Massey, a.k.a. Matt and Nick Jackson. Yeah. The
young
Young Bucks.
Yes, and of course the Young Bucks on there. So
Kenny Omega and the Khan family.
Yeah, and their television show was on their pay-per-view. Was their first pay-per-view was Double or Nothing back in 2019, May 25th in Las Vegas. About it, that was their first televised show and pay-per-view. And then going from there, they were announced they have their own regular TV showing, which is AEW Dynamite, which will be aired on TNT on Wednesday nights. So with that, you have what I call the Wednesday Night War. So they are broadcasting on the same day and time from their counterpart of WWE's NXT, which is aired at the same time at 8 o'clock on USA Network. So
Eastern. Let's emphasize that. 8 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah,
Eastern. 5 o'clock Pacific.
Exactly, yes. So within today's discussion, we're going to be reviewing what they have done in comparison with WWE, NXT, Impact Wrestling, and possibly Ring of Honor with these categories. So, and speaking of TakeOver last night, we all saw the results from there. Not going to get into any spoilers, just in case if you haven't seen TakeOver yet. But
I would say because they're going to bookend parts of the discussion, I would at least catch up with highlights before watching this, because there will be some spoilers hinted throughout the discussion as pros and as cons. So, and that's kind of the reason I waited to talk to Trico about 2 weeks after, because depending on how that went and Double or Nothing, it's more so that those are going to kind of dictate which brand has done it better, who's made the better moves, or where do people go from here. So I would say at least catch up on the highlights from TakeOver and Double or Nothing to really understand it. And if you don't care for spoilers, just continue right now. Or if you do care that you don't get spoiled, definitely on TakeOver, which was a pretty good 2.5-hour show, then go ahead, hit the network up, or I'm not going to even say any third party. It's your call. But hit those up, then come back to this collab episode and watch this and go from there.
Yeah, without further than that, so Donaze, I got to ask you, which pay-per-view do you think was better, Double or Nothing or NXT TakeOver in your house? But before you answer that, just think about the matches and also their separate televised matches that they have from the Backlot Brawl with NXT TakeOver to the Stadium Stampede that AEW had with Double or Nothing.
Okay, I'm gonna go by a nose, and this is just because they're a bit better match quality in the story you can easily pick up on outside of the cinematic matches, which we'll get to those in a minute. But I'm going to go with NXT in your house just because the matches were a bit more cohesive and kind of less botch-filled or predictable. Adam Cole winning was unpredictable. Charlotte losing was so randomly was definitely unpredictable, and we'll get to the Charlotte factor in a minute because that's been touched on a lot over the last 24 hours, couple weeks, whatever. But yeah, I think just match quality, length of the show, and the fact that what hit it for me is the involvement of Tyson and what they've been doing with him after. And I think that's one of my biggest complaints about the industry as a whole right now is the involvement of 80s and 90s megastars in today's climate, as well as just lacking of depth and credible depth within the rosters and throughout the industry. WWE, NXT, or AEW and Impact.
Yeah, so we're further than that, the discussion we just mentioned. So with Tyson and everything. So that will be as part of with the buzz of the company. So when you mentioned Tyson coming into AEW,
Mike Tyson, by the way, not Tyson Fury. Let's clarify that.
Yeah, I wanted you guys to get too confused with that. So, but yes, with Mike Tyson, when Mike Tyson showed up on AEW Dynamite, that reminds me of back in the day at 98 when he showed up on Monday Night Raw as part of the storyline between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels rivalry heading to the main event of WrestleMania 14. So when Tyson showed up on that Monday Raw on that day in 1998, that was WWE's part of trying to get up in the ratings. Well, when it comes to the Monday Night Wars in back in the day with WCW. So when Mike Tyson showed up at AEW and they showed him when it was starting a feud with Chris Jericho, that had a lot of views on YouTube with that segment. And as far as with NXT goes, they've been getting a lot of budget with their wrestlers too. But when Charlotte Flair won the NXT title from NXT Women's title from Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, so that gave a lot of buzz with NXT too, because they needed something to bump up their ratings with their wars against AEW. So, what is your review with it as far as like with AEW, WWE, NXT trying to create a buzz for their company?
Okay, this is going to be the first spoiler, as I said, and that is, yeah, Charlotte lost the title. And so for her to win was completely pointless. They used the fact they were losing the ratings war, put Charlotte on there part-time, because at this point, and this is why I hated it, she virtually was just on Raw and SmackDown for champion versus champion matches with Bayley, Sasha, and the Kabuki Warriors. That was Asuka and Kairi, obviously. And why? When is this airing? Excuse me? This before or after Raw?
Yeah, Charlotte, when she had the championship matches, the first one was with Bayley, and then with Asuka. In case y'all don't know, Bayley is the SmackDown Women's Champion on SmackDown, and Asuka.
And half the tag champs now.
Yes.
Which I'll definitely get into that as a con later. But the reason I ask, because today is June 8th. Charlotte lost the June 8th. Charlotte lost the title last night in the main event of TakeOver. Why is she in a match against the Raw Women's Champion when Asuka's in a feud with Nia going in like the next couple of weeks at Backlash?
Sunday coming at Backlash.
Yeah, Backlash is so weird, and it's just crazy because it's That's the one thing I do disapprove of with Charlotte. She just used it as a prop, not to elevate anybody else, but just to say, hey, we have champion versus champion matches, and overexposure, repeated overexposure as someone that didn't need the credentials or more exposure and that we were already sick of. And before anybody says it in the comments, I saw enough of that on Facebook and Instagram because people are so annoyed that she's been on every brand to this point that they want her. Wish it was her Andrade that got her pregnant rather than Seth and Becky. That's how much negative press and negative main star heat she's gotten. And that was just from 2 months. How long would you say from the Bianca to the interaction to Bianca was that in March or was that February?
I think that was in I think it was March.
Okay, so 2 months.
If I'm not mistaken.
She's been involved for about 2 months with NXT. Won the title. Used it only to promote champion versus champion matches. And it was almost like a purse. And then dropped it without getting pinned. And now she's in a match with one of the new brand champions who she's buried and put beneath her every time she says her in Asuka. And then to stay on this topic, when it comes to just mainstream promo and everything, Mike Tyson and the Jericho confrontation, and I guess based off last couple of weeks, you can throw in Freshly Squeezed into it as well, Orange Cassidy. It's more so that, yeah, that's like giving Jericho something to do, keep him in the limelight since the Elite feud is basically over. And they already had history, so it made sense. Yes, you brought up the Austin Mike Tyson beef from '98, and that was going into Austin's match with Shawn, which Tyson was the enforcer. Tyson popped up as the enforcer in that same capacity and presenting the belt to the winner to obviously Cody. But Jericho is still salty over the last time he saw Tyson and probably had a little bit of PTSD, which for him was borderline stupid to call him out, of a 10-year anniversary done right this year that I think we all want to remember, of Tyson punching Jericho's lights out in a tag match with DX. There's a tag match. There's a 10-year anniversary that I'll touch on later that I think both Impact and WWE's highlighting it, but I think Impact wants to forget it. I'll get to that later.
Yeah, as far as with Tyson and Jericho feud, I can see that either culminating at either Fyber Fest or All In pay-per-view. Depends on how long that rivalry will go forward. And as far as for Charlotte Flair is concerned, I feel like with her losing the title at TakeOver, I think they're really pushing her to make it to a 16 title reign like her father. I feel like that's the way they're going right now because the last title reign she had, it was kind of short. And I feel like they just make her lose and they're trying to make her to win more title reigns to try to compete at the same rate as her father is right now. So that's my review on that for everything that you touched base on. And
let's stay on this real quick because I do have a question. And
yeah.
this might go into our next topic of star power. Who breaks their division record first? New Day, Miz with the IC, or Charlotte? No, Charlotte's already done it, but on the women's side with this whole NXT title reign, because they're considering NXT kind of a world title because they're having international flair to it. So who beats the division record? Miz he's at 8 right now. Jericho's holding the record at 9 IC title reigns. Or do you have New Day play ping pong with the titles for a couple more times, lose them, get them back, lose them, get them back, and beat the Dudleys record?
As far as the New Day, I think they really go. I think they probably gonna be in the same rate with the Dudleys, or they probably gonna be it. I really think they probably going. They really probably going to. I really think they're pushing forward with that because even though they were starting the rumor of having Big E a split for the New Day, but I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. Just yet. I feel like they want to have New Day as the most decorated tag team in all of WWE, like in the past years or so. And as far as with the Miz, yes, he almost has the same intercontinental title reigns as Chris Jericho does. But with that, I don't know when if he actually going to pass that reign. It's going to be a long time as far as that is concerned with the Miz, and like I mentioned with Charlotte, they're trying to make her reach up to 16 like her father, like I mentioned before. And as far as the star power is concerned, with AEW right now, you have John Moxley, Brian Cage, who's trying to like I mentioned, with his alliance with Taz, he's trying to be the next big thing as far as going into his match with John Moxley at Fyber Fest. Also, you have Cody, you have MJF, you have Jungle Boy, you have all the Elite, and also the Inner Circle. And as far as NXT is concerned, the biggest star power is Keith Lee, Adam Cole. And yeah. When you think about star power, the star power in that person, that's going to be the person who's going to move forward in into the next reign. When I mentioned Keith Lee,
and you skipped over a company, and this is going to bite you in the butt later.
Yeah,
you have Jordan Grace, Tessa, you have Deanna. You could easily throw Sammy Callahan in there. Freaking Moose. And of course, I'm going off Impact. Willie Mack, whenever Rich Swann pops up. And then you can easily throw in Ethan Page and Josh Alexander of the North. And this, of course, as I mentioned, Impact's roster. And heck, Joey Ryan is basically pulling a CM Punk right now from the Straight Edge Society and leading that faction involving Rob Van Dam, and as of this past Tuesday, the destruction of OVE.
Yeah, but when I think
I'd say Joseph P. Ryan,
yeah,
before I get called out in the comments.
Yeah. So when I think of star power, I think of that person has a lot momentum going on, and that person might be the next big thing going into the company. So when I mentioned Adam Cole, Keith Lee, and everybody that I mentioned for NXT, those guys are they might make it to the main roster soon, but they are currently right now the star power of NXT based on their popularity, their charisma in everything. So, and then also for AEW, where I mentioned John Moxley, Cody, and so those guys has momentum riding on them. Like John Moxley, he's the AEW World Champion. Cody, he
hasn't been pinned yet.
Yeah.
Like in a singles match, Mox has not been pinned since he debuted.
Yeah.
He dropped Kenny and Jericho last year in a singles match.
Yeah. So they had to keep that star power momentum going so forth, because anyone can lose that momentum at any time. So
there's a point, Lionel Rose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they would try to put Nia Rose as the most dominant women in AEW, but as you mentioned, we have a new champion that was crowned at Double or Nothing. So
who's basically become um international megastar, I would say. And the reason I say that, she's learning English. She's got her YouTube, which slowly, like, her like gaining knowledge of the US culture while still being so in tune with her own culture. And legit, how they've booked her like win streak to where I think she's only lost one match all of 2020. I think she may have lost one or like maybe a handful in 2019, but 2020 she's lost maybe one or two and that's it. And was number one contender well before they even confirmed it after Revolution going into Double or Nothing. The fact that it was Rose and Statlander at Revolution baffled me when Sheeta was still considered number one or number two at that point. But the fact that they made this whole, but I guess that was to not put so much press and everything off Mox in that promo, which was kind of cathartic with the Inner Circle Singers, which I know Meredith is on pretty much active on TikTok right now. But yeah. So when it comes to star power, I think someone you can easily build the company around and has the enough momentum, not nuclear go away heat, but someone that is on the cusp of doing something so epic to where you can easily see them in the next 5-10 years running that entire promotion. Mox, I can see it. Cody, thank God he finally won a pay-per-view match because he had not won a major match or a major feud since really the one with Dustin.
Yeah.
So that's to where Cody's star was falling on me, to where he hasn't even been technically associated with the Elite in months. And
Yeah.
then, of course, I'm going to say Jericho just because it's Jericho and all he needs is a live mic in 5 minutes and he instantly has a trending meme that could easily take over. And heck, once live crowds are all over the place again, you don't even need Kenny from South Park, Sammy Guevara singing anymore. You can just have the crowd and they'll just do it freely.
Yes. So without that, in a way, let's talk about the jumps. So with there's a lot of NXT stars trying to move up to the main roster. Oh, you have Dominic Dijakovic. You have Matt Riddle, who's already been announced going into to the SmackDown brand. Velveteen Dream, and there's a lot of other NXT stars that are going to the main roster. And in the past couple of months, there was WWE made a lot of releases because they was trying to cut with their budget. So there's been a lot of superstars that have moved on to either Impact or AEW. Like for example, the Revival, one of
FTR baby.
Yep, who was now FTR. They instead of the Revival, they had moved on to AEW. Rusev quickly made a tease on him going into Impact Wrestling. So with the jumps were going on, do you think that might give them a restart on their careers, or that just might make them fail once again?
Okay, this is where I'm gonna make and I'm gonna clear this up because you botched it slightly. For me, a jump is in between promotions, not from brand to brand. I'll just say moving up, or as WWE says, call up, which I'll get into that later in my pros and cons section because that is a major con to me and why NXT is losing in the ratings war and makes no stinking sense. But when it comes to jumps, and it all depends on whether that stock stays or dies after someone leaves a promotion and then debuts in another. Take, for instance, Brian Cage. He legit was world champion mid last year and is already in contention to challenge in the next 4 or 5 weeks for the AEW world title after only debuting 2 weeks ago. And yet he was world champion for a decent amount of time last year. Granted, Sami Callihan basically slapped him like and treated him like a toddler in that feud, but it ended up good. And the biggest letdown and why I think momentum sucks is very key is Deonna Purrazzo and Dexter Lumis. Deonna Purrazzo was legit one of the founding sisters within the Women of Honor division and gave one of their biggest undefeated streaks and ended it, granted by countout, in Kelly Klein in Ring of Honor. But she goes to WWE, does basically house show circuits, and then gets released. And yet, I think it might be a world title challenge between her and Jordynne Grace. But based off the trailers that Impact's been playing, it looks like that's the move, is going from basically on the door and founding and mothering a division, almost the Candice LeRae role that she was claiming she had for a while in the NXT locker room, but doing nothing with it in NXT and doing nothing. Now, Deanna's taking charge, might be presented as a heel, and Rhett as a narcissistic heel, and ready to become number one contender after just opening her dressing room. And then tag division-wise, obviously FTR. But then you have to think, everybody named Cody, the Bucks, Kenny, all jumped from either New Japan or Ring of Honor. And it's weird to say, and I would not have thought this a year ago. I thought it would have been the other way around, possibly. But the Bucks are the only members of the established elite that have not held a title in their own promotion. And yet Cody needed to beat Lance Archer, which is another jump. And then, yeah, so I do think it's the truth. And then, legit, Talk is Jericho has become the new Talk is Jericho, and if Cornette likes you, his podcast too has become the new post WWE severance package. And that whole reason, I don't know how much ill will it was between Jericho and Vince, but that's all he's been doing for like the last year, just letting people vent and talk anytime they leave WWE. And then here's another big kicker. Like, how do you think Otis and do you know who's cool? No, I'm getting too far into myself. Sorry. I'll leave that for later. I'm getting I'm going toward the con section. I'm going to the con section.
Yeah.
Last ball, I'll shut up.
Yeah, before we get to the pro and con section, we have the division reviews. So with the men's heavyweight division in AEW, ever since Jon Moxley became world champion and defeating Chris Jericho, he had recently title defense against which one of them was Jake Hager, Mr. Brody Lee, and also coming up against Brian Cage. So how do you see the men's heavyweight division going forward?
Okay. From
NXT, from Impact Wrestling, and possibly Ring of Honor as well.
Okay. Reason I say this, possibly Ring of Honor, because there are cliff notes from that promotion possibly in this conversation. And like I said, there might be. So with the quote-unquote men's, and I say quote-unquote because you get the Impact, though their world champion is undeniable Tessa. So you go with AEW, and this is my biggest issue. No homegrown talent, outside of maybe Cody, depending on how you view it, has been in contention in a world title match. Because you've had Mox, you had Jericho and Paige. Nah, let me take that back. Paige, because he was Ring of Honor. So, but still. You've not had one that made their debut with AEW challenge for the world title yet. Because you had Mox, Jericho, Cody, Paige, Lee, Scorpio, and Hager. So you had a mix of and now you've got Brian Cage. So you have a mix of former champions from all three other promotions, either holding the title or being the champion. With NXT, last 365 days, it's been the Adam Cole and UE show, which, don't get me wrong, I like it, but it makes no sense. Adam Cole is only good as his supporting cast. Yes, he got overshadowed by two of his supporting cast in one shot, even though Candice basically punted, not her husband, she punted Ciampa, and yeah. And of course, that's Ciampa and Gargano, which went their separate ways, not just from Cole, but then that. And then why, once again, in another world title storyline, is the stalker / home invader the baby face? Explain to me that, Trico. Because Dream started that when he came back and just jumped Roddy. And he used Roddy after a loss just to get in NXT World Title contention, because there was nobody for Cole, since Gargano, Ciampa, and Keith Lee and Dijakovic were all out of that division, and then Balor too.
I don't know. And when the whole Velveteen Dream and the Undisputed Era got revised, when Velveteen Dream came back, when he tried to use the mind games with Roger Strong in his way of trying to get through Adam Cole. They try to get to an NXT title match. So
that whole part of, I'm gonna throw away a grudge match inside of a steel cage just to jump my real target. So you mean to tell me you had a photo of a man's wife and son just so you can beat the crap, not out of him, but the man's boss, and lower the boss into a cage just for you to hold that L? In pretty much a poor man's version of a parking lot brawl that you and me have both shot in that location. Don't act like you haven't.
Oh yeah.
Easily the Full Sail block.
Absolutely.
That was the Full Sail backlot for anybody that couldn't tell last night.
Yeah, that was the backlot. So all the film students that when you see the going into the that's not the stage, but going into the
on the opposite side of the bridge.
Counter
corner from
that area.
Full Sail Live is basically where they shot at. So caddy corner on the same side of the bridge is where they shot the entire backlot brawl at. And it's crazy. And they got lucky that Full Sail's been under quarantine, because you legit could have had students inconsistently walking throughout the background of that entire match and that entire recording. Because Full Sail is a university that runs 24/7 when they're active. So you easily could have blown your own cover and you just got lucky with that. So it was just edited real bad.
Yeah. But with the men's heavyweight division out of the way, let's talk about the mid card. So when AEW announced it, they was getting a mid-card title, but they don't know what they was going to call it. So they went to back in the days where WCW and ECW had the television title. So with AEW with promotion with TNT, so they called that title the TNT Championship. And when I look at the design of the title, so it has some similarities to the NXT North American title and the Raw Tag Team titles, because like it's a red belt but with silver plates and front piece on it. So
I'm gonna ignore the title design itself because, like they said, the only reason they couldn't get it designed the way they wanted to was the fact of a certain pandemic that we're under right now. And the pandemic kind of shortened what it is and made it look like the Raw Tag Team titles rather than, have you seen the design online?
Yeah.
Of what it should have been. But with their manufacturer basically working on respirators and everything else, trying to make sure everybody's healthy, they just rushed out a design to just have something as a proxy and then debut a new belt once the pandemic, or at least social, I would guess, the stay-at-home orders, or kind of non-existent anymore for them to work on it. So going from NXT to NA, you go out of the Keith Lee, Donovan Dijakovic feud to pretty much couples warfare and gouging people's eyes out.
Don't forget the Damian Priest one too. The Damian Priest one too.
That one, do you see him even in contention after that L he took to Balor last night for any title?
I think that was that match was just like a jump start for him. Forget the large part. I think that was just like a him trying to be more dominant competitor that he is with the match we had with Finn Balor. So as far as him, he's still in the mid card the division, but
let's continue with Impact. Don't forget the other divisions. I know you don't know them too well because I know you've been only. It's so hard to keep up with wrestling, and that's why I had to write these down. But with the X division right now, kind of it's weirdly at a standstill just because of with Willie Mack and then as champ. Not saying it's all on Willie, it's just due to the pandemic and a lot of X division stars being from other countries. It's weird because it is at that standstill for, I don't know what siren's going off or who's going by my window. That's why I had to pause. I do apologize for all you guys. I am shooting by a bedroom window that's facing the street. And I knew you heard that because it was loud as heck.
Yeah.
But, and
yeah.
Yeah, so with that mid card, it goes from Sami Callihan, who's been the most over heel that I think I've seen in a long time, might have had a quiet face turn against Ken Shamrock of all people. So it's very hard to pick with the X division how that one's going, but I would put that in the mid road. I'd put, and this is going to be in the con section later, but in the North NA title, kind of put in the undercard. And then as the lowest one, and then the TNT title, and heck, Cody's defended it against this week against Mark Quinn, who's been shining, Jungle Boy, who's been shining, and just giving almost the John Cena approach, John Cena Open Challenge approach to that TNT title, which I like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and just giving that spotlight to younger talent, which I think that's what he's been doing this whole time, I'm just glad he finally won a major match again on pay-per-view.
Yeah, and then moving forward with the tag team division for AEW. So you have a lot of tag teams. You have the Young Bucks, Private Party, the Lucha Brothers, the Inner Circle, Best Friends, Jungle Express, the Dark Order, Sal Callahan Uncensored, and also the current tag champs, Kenny Omega and Adam Page. So going
You
forward,
forgot FTR. And my biggest concern with this, throw the Lucha Brothers / Death Triangle out because Phoenix hurt himself again. Who knows how long he's going to be out. Britt said she's going to be out before you even add her in a minute to she's going to be out till All Out in August, September, so that's going to be interesting, which I'll get to in a minute on my thoughts on that pay-per-view coming up. But the tag division, AEW, I'm okay with it. Can people stay healthy and social distancing, which Tony Khan said they are going to be okay with. Nobody's going to get their push affected. However, it does hinder that division, just like it is every other division in professional wrestling, because you have the big names that can't do anything, and like your quote-unquote mega stars, like your Roman Reigns, your Becky Lynch, your Seth Rollins, your Drew McIntyre, So that level of megastar in each of your promotions. And even with the North, like, yeah, they've been good. They've got the Rascals coming up very soon. So Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz. That's going to be a fun match. And then, yeah, X Division, like I said, has Willie Mack as champ. You've got freaking Ace Austin just lost the X Division title, but it's competing for the world title now. So he moved up. And then, yeah, so tag division wise, I think I would rate this one's a tough one. AEW by nose because they're the most active right now, but I do think it's got a lot to do with the coronavirus. Then I would go NXT, just because outside the Undisputed Era and Imperium, which is a left field team, like Undisputed Era can't stay healthy at this point. Outside of Adam Cole, like all the other three have been injury prone. So, and they're the most over things in that promotion. So that is a big, like, ooh. And then NXT, AEW, I'd go AEW because everybody's active. Impact, it's slowly rebuilding and just building around Alexander and Paige in the North, which I think is a solid idea. And then I would go with NXT's tag division, just because, for one, you just crown new champions in Imperium. The ones that were challenging and in contention, legit. One is now on SmackDown, and the other is stuck in the UK due to just everything. Which, yeah, I should have thrown Tim Thatcher in the NA title picture now. But he just lost that feud with Riddle, so it makes no sense. And then, of course, the women, and you want the women's obviously last.
Yeah, we have the women's last. As far as the women's is concerned with AEW, there's only been 3 women that held the women's world title. It's just Rio, Nyla Rose, and the current champ right now, Sheikah. But as far as we have a lot. There's a lot of contenders that get goodbye for the title, including Awesome Kong, Great Baker, Big Swole, and Penny Forward, and how you see the women's division going from AEW, from NXT, where you have Mia Yim, Candice LeRae, the new champ, Io Shirai, Rhea Ripley, and all the other stars.
Okay, I'm gonna have a lot to say on this one, and it's just due to the fact of one, injuries, two, a language barrier. You asked me, I think it was what, last night, I believe, regarding, oh yeah, Japan's taking over. I don't think it's timing with the coronavirus and pandemic going around, but I do think that does hinder those divisions because there is an obvious language barrier. If you can't go full English, if your English is not that well and you're in an English territory, then you really can't do anything proper. And with Britt Baker gone, and she was in your top 5 for the longest, and Britt's out for like 4 or 5 months, was in your top 5 for 3-4 months, in your top 5 for the longest, and in title contention, had title matches, but yet now she's out. And to me, she's the safest, even though she's been injured twice by unsafe workers, the safest, most marketable, and the one that can actually speak in the native language. Which, am I knocking Cheetah? Am I knocking Io? Am I knocking Asuka? No on that. But do I think it's something in your home territory you have to learn the language, and that is a must? Yes. That's why I think Will Ospreay for the longest was not honored in New Japan or taken as highly as his matches say outside within Japan, outside of his work ethic, even Mox, because the language barrier is so prevalent, even with the fan base. Granted, the work ethic can help, but the language barrier is so crucial to the success and the star power. So with the women's divisions, and granted, Impact's been having probably the best women's matches, women's storylines, and women's theatrical like usage for the last couple of years in all of wrestling. Even with how they, and this was another jump I didn't talk about, but Impact also lost, even though they gained Deanna and they gained Deanna and she's debuting. They lost Brian Cage to AEW, and they lost, and even though they gained Kylie Ray from AEW, they lost freaking Killer Cross, who was an excellent promo, and Allie, that's who I was thinking of. And how they killed her off was just so disrespectful to somebody that held their world title on multiple occasions. Someone dies and someone's contract is ending, kill them off by stabbing them in the neck. That's legit how they killed off a character they invested so much time in growing. Kill that character off by stabbing them in the neck. Sad, ain't it?
Yeah.
But with that being said, and of course you got to talk over, does Impact's women's division have enough with just Jordan Grace and Taya, because Tessa basically left that division and went all the way to the tip top, immediately feuded with Sammy, and within months walked out as World Heavyweight Champion. And because of the pandemic, she's stuck in Mexico right now.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, let's move on to our pros and cons. So with AEW being a 1-year anniversary, what is your pros and cons as regards to like the promotions, the pay-per-views, and all the matches they were having in regards to trying to compete with NXT in the Wednesday Night Wars, and also following up with trying to reach the same manicure level with WWE and with Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor, with them being 1 year with their wrestling promotion company.
I think keeping ideas fresh has been one of their biggest pros. I love the direction they're going. However, I have two major cons when it comes to AEW. And these have been said so much, it's crazy. Yes, their social media presence has been a blessing and a great plus. And heck, they'll respond to comments. And heck, I was even in their stories just by doing one of their IG stories, like just random stickers. However, and I mean this with the utmost respect, some of their athletes, their social media presence, and it's been the top caliber involvement, their social media presence is trash. And the timing of it is just bad. Because when it comes to social issues, and Nyla Rose, while she was having the title, I forget if it was after, it might have been after the Revolution post show press conference, but she basically roasted a reporter and said, why you want to know when it came to, are there women writers and producers back there writing? And granted, she's already going to hear the end of it when she has to defend like the whole transgender and African American issues. But yet she went off on a reporter for just asking for, in regards to women's rights and diversity, if AEW has been keeping up with that, which there that is. So that's a no. And then Jericho and Sammy Guevara, the inner circle, love them to death. However, Sammy's was just bad timing and stupidity on his part, because he posted on Blackout Tuesday just to promote a vlog about him ghost hunting on Blackout Tuesday. Not smart. And then, people are going to hate Jericho for All Lives Matter versus Black Lives Matter. And even when he commented on a few comments saying not Black Lives Matter, but All Lives Matter in a few posts. So there's going to be that bit of tension. And I think just understanding social media presence, even though Jericho knows what to do and what not to do. And then the constant, and this is my biggest one, and I think this is the biggest for a lot of people, especially when Brody Lee debuted. Outside of maybe the Jericho podcast, there needs to be an end to the AEW bashing, the WWE bashing on air, or the WWE skits on air. Because the second Brody Lee debuted, it turned into a massive Vince McMahon just parody of every stereotype and thing he's done or claimed to be chained to. That was his gimmick. Mox, like half his promos on air when he first started were just bashing Vince. Jericho's wasn't really bashing, but legit everybody chained him to WWE the second he got taken, wrote out an entire intro, and now they're trying to erase him from history entirely. Same with Mox, they're trying to erase him. So I think that's a con across the board, is just trying to talk around and roast each other's companies without going for that. And then, with WWE on top of the mass firings, and I'll go into their cons real quick. But was that the one you were going to next, or were you going to have me touch on impacts?
Yeah, for my pros and cons with AEW, they're going good so far. With their promotions, with their storylines, and with their wrestlers. But the only thing is that if they want to keep moving forward, they have to try to get more storylines moving forward. They did great with the cinematic match with Stampede at Stadium. I enjoyed that match so much. They did that great.
They did it again.
Yeah, that was great. I really liked it. I really did.
Speaking of the Stampede, what's Guevara's beef when it comes to golf carts? How many times are they going to try and run him over and make him look like Kenny from South Park at the result of a golf cart?
I don't know if it had some fun moments, it had some funny moments, and it had some crucial moments. And as far as the when NXT take over in your house, the backlot brawl, I think of with the Eddie Guerrero versus John Cena parking lot brawl, and also the JBL and John Cena one back at the Great American Bash 2028. 2008.
Don't put this in the same ballpark as that, because those were 10 times better than this. One, because of the way they had shot it and aired it, granted, and here's the sad part, those two were kind of live. This one was pre-taped and edited to have as many fast cuts as they had, and let me know if I'm overstepping my boundaries. This one had so many jump cuts in that match to where it was jarring to follow, and the stipulation basically cleared out the division of every babyface that's challenging for the title, except maybe Dexter Lumis, but aka Sam Shaw from Impact, who jumped over. But what has Lumis done to even be considered a main event player when a certain baby contract expires in August if he doesn't resign? You didn't know that, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So his contract does expire in August, and legit Tony Schiavone screwed up, for context, and posted a photo, and I think it was the Double or Nothing after party. He posted a photo with Adam Cole basically over what would be your right shoulder on camera, Trico. And then he opted like, ooh, crap, I got to crop this. But everybody saw the original post with Adam Cole in the shot, even though they know Britt's like there, but it was a pay-per-view taping after party. So yeah, you got busted. And his contract, which could very well damage NXT and their biggest con. But yeah, but until then, continue with your thoughts on AEW.
Yeah, but other than that, I think Dexter Lumis might be Adam Cole's next challenger. But as far as that, if they're going to continue with that storyline, with Velveteen cannot compete for the title anymore, and might possibly move it up to the main roster, I think Dexter Lumis might be the next challenger from Adam Cole. And as far as the AEW is concerned, like I mentioned, the Stadium Stampede match was good. So, and also with the Fyber Fest coming up, they're doing the same route with WrestleMania, but instead of being a pay-per-view, they're gonna live it on the air on TNT instead of it being a pay-per-view like they did last year. So, if they're going with that route, it depends on how many matches it's going to take on day one and day two, going forward with that.
I will get to the AEW spoiler off camera to avoid. And there was a video that was released online. You guys can find it under Pro Wrestling Unlimited. That said the sourced spoiler for the All Out main event. And for those that know AEW, that's their next big show post Fyter Fest. So this block, this summer quarter, just had their big show with Double or Nothing. The fall big show, which is going to be All Out, that main event is basically, it kind of got leaked and has been in the dirt sheets. I'm not going to say it on air to avoid spoilers and tick people off and get people writing on both our comments and in my Discord, but I will touch on it here. Off camera to you. And it is a doozy of a match, which I think AEW going in that direction is insane.
So yeah. So lastly, with all our talks with AEW with NXT, so let's put Raw, SmackDown, Ring of Honor, and Impact Wrestling out of the way. So
You just want to focus on NXT.
no, yeah, with the Wednesday Night War going on, would you prefer NXT or
I thought we were gonna. Did we touch on the NXT pros and cons?
what's that?
Did we touch on the pros and cons for NXT?
No, let's get on that real quick.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
so
I know we didn't touch on that. I'm like, we only did A-Dub.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Yeah, let's touch on that real quick. So, with the like we mentioned with Velveteen Dream not getting another title shot with AEW, so I think Dexter Lumis might be the next contender for Adam Cole because he needs somebody to have someone to be a contender for his title because if no one's there, then that will completely make no sense. And as far as the mid card is going on, Keith Lee, like I mentioned before in our first topic, he is the star power, so he needs somebody more to compete for his title.
Just like you?
Yeah, exactly. So, and also, where's Walter? I know with the pandemic, NXT UK is going on, but with the Imperium as the tag team champions,
Imperium's the freaking tag champs, aren't they in Orlando right now?
Yeah, but with them being the tag team champions, I think NXT and USC UK should cross over with the pandemic stuff going on. No, I mean, before even the pandemic started, like NXT and USC UK was doing good by themselves. But with the pandemic going on and the Imperium as the tag team champs, they need to cross over right now with the pandemic going on. And as far as the women division is concerned, they're doing great. They just now are Io Shirai. I know she's probably going to be facing either Rhea Ripley or Charlotte Flair down the line. But as far as concerned, yeah, they need to bust. They need as far as the other women is concerned, they need to boost their ratings. Like for example, Tegan Knox with that win over, that she could be a possible contender. Me and you could be a good possible contender. Like it's all about bumping your superstars and all that stuff because if they move to the main roster, that could either make them or break them. So that's my pros and cons for that. What are your pros and cons on NXT?
Well, I think I'm going to go a little. The pros, they're not many when it comes to NXT. Yes, the buzz is still there. The legacy is still there. And that's basically it for my pros. The history and the legacy is there. And they're going to bang out some good matches when it comes to TakeOver. Those are my pros. But boy, do I have a bunch of cons. And you keep saying getting promoted to the main roster. And if WWE does not make, and I was watching Tyler Coon Williams' YouTube earlier, and he legit said this, so I will credit positive, like people being credible. And okay, so I will credit positive YouTubers, especially Black YouTubers, that promote and say just great stuff. And legit, this got in my two biggest pros right now, the Charlotte Flair factor, and really three. It's either you're in title contention or you're in the Kurt Hawkins territory. And to be honest, I kind of can't ignore the Raw and SmackDown negative just because it is an NXT negative as well, because the firings partook and have contributed to not one, but two storylines. One on NXT. So Wednesday? With all the mass firings through the pandemic. So the NXT storyline was Drake Maverick Cruiserweight title final, takes that L, wins the belt, and loses the belt, but gets an NXT contract. People were not happy with that. I wasn't, because so you're going to turn a mass firing into a storyline just because somebody posted a passionate video about how it hurt them. And then on top of that, you fire somebody that had been on your main roster, a Triple Crown winner on your main roster for over a decade. You fire him, and just because, ooh, there's somebody else that's more popular than you, can we use your pool to make it look like they went on a date? And for those that don't know what I'm referring to, the Otis and Mandy vignettes post-WrestleMania was from Zack Ryder's pool. I knew it. I knew you didn't know that one just by your reaction. Like Zack Ryder's podcast, he said that I had that same reaction. I'm like, the morons. And like legit, he had like Chelsea Green, someone else who's getting ready to possibly get called up to the main roster, answered the phone. His fiance answered the phone, got the message from one of the writers, and he legit started tweeting about it and deleted the tweet before he posted it. And because he knew that's borderline crazy. You're fired, but can we use your pool? And we know you're like fired, but you want to come back and do a storyline and possibly get your job back? But what about the other like 45, 50 people that you fired just because of budget cuts due to a worldwide pandemic? So that's a company practice. And then stop calling. And this is my biggest concern. This is a concern about across the entire wrestling community. Stop freaking calling people up to them, quote unquote, Raw and SmackDown main roster, because you are gutting that program to where it's almost unwatchable. And if you lose the guys like the Undisputed Era, Keith Lee, and heck, freaking Ciampa and Gargano, which Ciampa said he would never go, but if you lose Ciampa, Gargano, Lee, and that's it, you lose any of them four, possibly all four, plus the other three, the Undisputed Era, your brand right now is gutted because the distance between them and the rest of the roster, including the women's division, especially, which is my biggest like con because of that gap, is simply like unforgivable. It's like you're either in title convention or you're a jobber. Heck, Santana Garrett, who was on the indie scene for the longest, and heck, a former Stardom champion, got her first win over someone they portrayed that is weaker than Kurt Hawkins, which, for those that don't know or don't understand wrestling, had a 2-year losing streak that got turned into a storyline that culminated with a WrestleMania Tag Title transitional win last year on the freaking pre-show. So for her to only have one win, someone that was that dominant to, I think, either Stardom contention or a Stardom World Champion, to now just only getting wins against the undercard talent, big letdown. And the gap between the Rhea Ripley to, which are Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai, and I don't even want to say her name because she's going back on Raw to fight Asuka, which I'm hoping is just because of credibility. And I hate to say it, unless you were somehow referenced by Ric Flair, you're not a credible woman in the WWE. It has been painted like that for years. And now it's more prevalent than ever. Or credible in their eyes. because if you look at it, Becky had the title and squashed everybody for about a year and squeaked on one over Shayna. And now Shayna's one of the top women in the company on Raw. Bayley and Sasha now have the tag titles, and Bayley's been the SmackDown champ for about a year. Charlotte Flair is Charlotte Flair. Entirely negative for the entire company. Outside of that, everybody else is beneath them. And the only reason Asuka got the Raw Women's title is because Seth got Becky pregnant. Because she had it over a year. Am I wrong on any of that?
Yeah. But with the tag titles between Bayley and Sasha, I think that's going to be another storyline going into SummerSlam. And that will be Sasha versus Bayley at the time.
Well, are they going to do that? Are they finally going to pull the trigger on that? But here's the thing, and my point. You're using the tag titles as pretty much a device in a bigger storyline that you didn't need. And now the tag titles that are almost as weak, women's tag that are almost as weak as the 24/7 title, are going to be even hindered more because you're just using them as a plot device in a single feud. Because the first time they lost them was sorry, headphone listeners. But yeah, it was so just drastic, and I hated that. But now it's a plot device, just to go for it, and you tease, like, it's going to be very odd, but a long time coming once those get discontinued very soon. I feel like those will get discontinued in 2021, the women's tag titles.
But yeah, other than that, let's go back to what we talked about before. Which one you prefer? So, NXT or AEW?
By nose, I say AEW, and it's simply put,
Almost done.
credibility and longevity and value within that roster. NXT, yes, they have the longevity of how long they've been around before they went on live TV. However, the credibility amongst their roster, that gap is just too wide between championship contenders and somebody you would see in the undercard. It's still viewed as a developmental brand. So where one set of call-ups can be the difference between having a legit like roster with divisions or just fishing for a contender, or having the Charlotte Flair factor happen to your division and nothing happened there. But when it comes to AEW, I think it's a lot fresher, a lot newer. And because if they're on Dynamite, that is their main show, with Dark being, they're dark matches and highlighting just big storylines that you need to know. And heck, you'll have matches where some of your champions are just elevating some of the trainees and younger talent that are at the AEW training facility, like working and getting up there to debut. Heck, Pineapple Pete. Pineapple Pete, and then the fact, like the whole Mike Tyson storyline that we touched on earlier. The baddest man on the planet, or shall I say the baddest orange on the planet, is fighting Jericho as the proxy for Tyson until they set up the Tyson match. And Orange Cassidy, if AEW could have a massive crowd, that storyline and that feud would instantly like get him so much more credible and so much more experience just by that. And between FTR and Jericho shook them down the Lucha Brothers and just said, hey, the excuses you're making for not in a tag match, for not tagging in a tag match, are so unforgivable and so stupid, and it's harder for even the announcers to keep up with. It's a flop. Jericho and FTR legit have called this out on air, in interviews, and backstage directly to them. And so that veteran leadership and that like attention to detail when it comes to what's going on in the industry is so crucial. And it feels natural, but it doesn't feel like everybody. And I will agree with Jim Cornette when he said Karrion Kross just looks like another guy on the roster and doesn't appeal as a star, when his mannerisms have almost become WWE formulaic rather than original. AEW, everybody feels original. Yes, you have guys like Brody Lee, Luchasaurus, and like Archer. Presentation and mannerisms are so different amongst the three of them, and they are the exact same size. And that's your three biggest competitors, three separate divisions on the roster, and it makes total sense, all three of them. What do you think?
It's an in between for me because it really depends on which one is selling more, and when it comes to, and also when it comes to like to the ratings, like which show would done better, or like which pay-per-view is going good. So it's an in between for me because I like NXT, I like EW. Some of the stories I like where they're going with, and some of the matches that they can pull up as well. So that's a toss-up between me. But yeah, other than that, we got to wrap up. So yeah, so everybody in the comment down in the comment sections. What are your thoughts on AEW's 1 year anniversary and possibly their feud in the Wednesday Night War with NXT, and what also were your thoughts on Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor? Let us know in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell when new episodes are uploaded. And don't forget to follow Donaze Key's logo in the back. What, you might share your logo right there? Yeah. Yep. All About Millennials podcast that airs every Friday.
Fridays, 5 o'clock PST. And this past Friday, and why I didn't go into it too much, was an episode over my own thoughts as an African-American male in the current social climate, and just letting those out. As well, we are doing, I believe, either a month or a month and a half long series on Black business owners starting this Friday. And for those also interested in continuing the conversation, not just on wrestling, not just on gaming, not just on dance, and any social justice issue that arises regardless of race, ethnicity, or like sexual preference, I do have a Discord that is up and running right now where all of our episodes, my episodes anyway, of that will be posted, as well as once I get my internet fixed. No harm, no foul, full disclosure. No harm, no foul, full disclosure. I'll start streaming as well. And the first month I get that all up and running and working properly, gotta hope my download speed's good, we will be giving back to all proceeds that month, and depending on how much money I raise will go directly toward Black Lives Matter. And much love to everybody. Details will be in the description through my link tree. Ta-ta for now.
All right. And also, thank you for giving the time to be on this episode. And man, we'll be see you more in a future episode as well.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. He's Donaze, and I'm Trico, and we're signing off. Peace.
Deuces.